Welcome to Monthly Movie Dispatch, a movie review show from friends you can trust. Every week we broadcast a review of a new film, talk about some film news, and recommend what to watch. We've been talking, critiquing, and gushing over movies since we were in high school, and we aim to bring you honest conversation on relevant cinema. I'm going to be your host this week, Brandon Bolby, and I have here with me my brother, Shaun Bolby.
Hi, how's it going?
How's it going? So, today we will be talking about the multi-Oscar nominated film documentary Flea. I'm very excited to talk to you about it. I actually just finished watching it.
Awesome.
But before we go into our main review, I first want to kind of go over the Oscar nominations. They came out this morning, I think.
Yep, I woke up.
Pretty exciting, kind of, a little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely some fun, interesting stuff going on.
Yeah, honestly, like reveal, I think last year was one of the first years I didn't watch the Oscars at all. I think I saw some clips online afterwards, but just didn't watch it.
Was that intentional, or did you just not happen to be available to watch it that night?
Actually, I'm sure I was around. I think I just didn't think too much about it. I remember they postponed it to later into the following year. But it is still interesting to look over what's being recognized, and also it kind of does, I think the thing I get most out of it is it does help me fill in a little bit of holes. I mean, it's like any kind of list, like you look at the AV Club list, we always really like, Sight and Sound list, or just what people are talking about on Letterboxd. This is kind of just another grouping of lists.
This is just like kind of a list that makes it outside our small little friend group, I think. I always enjoy the conversation around it. A lot of people hate on it a lot, and I'm kind of, I kind of don't really care, but I think
it's like,
fun to talk about movies.
This was nominated for best cinematography, and I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited. I'm excited to see the cinematography when I check out this movie. It bumps up higher on your list of movies to see in the next month or so, right? With that said, let's do a little game. Go through some hot takes. I want to know some of your opinions, and then we can just talk about if there's anything.
We've had less than 12 hours to formulate these opinions. So
yes. So just off the top, let's do the big question. What do you think? What do you think should win Best Picture?
Well, on my little document here, answering your questions, I wrote "cop out?" ?
Oh. Yeah.
Not
okay. You're bailing on this
not
one?
the Kevin Smith movie, but no, I don't know. The only thing is, like, just offhand, you were kind of possibly forcing me to choose my number one movie of the year, but right now I think I'll go with Dune. I would absolutely love to see Dune win Best Picture. I was just kind of looking at it, and it's been a long time since a movie that's made over $100 million domestically has won Best Picture. And yeah, I think it would be.
The movie's
cool.
Incredible, and it's a genre film.
Yeah.
It's not a typical pick. I agree. Yeah, I wrote down Dune. I want Dune to win, and also I think for the Oscars, somehow like the biggest movie on here would be the most unique movie to pick too.
Yeah. I would agree. I think it's the right pick. I don't think it will. Yeah. I kind of definitely don't think it will, but it would be really awesome. But and I will also say there's always room for it to do kind of the Lord of the Rings thing, where the first movie gets a ton of nominations, but it doesn't necessarily win the big ones.
True.
And then the second movie comes in and kind of.
Yeah, you're not the only one who said you're waiting to form more of an opinion until you see the second half of the story, because it is such an abrupt like splicing of these two movies. So let's go on to the next question. I want to know, what do you think is your biggest overall snub?
Oh my God! On the same note, definitely Denis Villeneuve not being nominated for Best Director is a crime. It's mind-boggling. Uh, there's a
Especially a movie
great
that's like
video.
all
Yeah,
encompassing like that
there's a
from every
great
department.
video. There's a great video I watched this morning. Dan Merle reacting to the nominations, and he was just kind of, I guess, live streaming um, the video, the live thing of
Yeah.
the nominations being announced, and it was he says he kind of went through the 7 stages of grief, and of like first confusion, and then like bargaining, like he was even like no, 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 and then like anger, and yeah, so it was pretty funny. I
Yeah, like what
I
is
tried to
best
link
directing?
it. Yeah,
It's an incredible vision,
yeah,
well realized from every department, and it's also a management job.
yeah,
And there's no movie on here that is
yeah,
like almost more of those two things
yeah, definitely.
done like perfectly than Dune. Like
Yeah.
none of the other movies nominated come close to what
I mean,
he had to
you could
do on that film.
certainly, absolutely, as far as like just sheer force of will put into it, he has that. You could certainly say
Exactly.
that like there's some pretty great artistic expressions in like Power of the Dog or Licorice Pizza and Drive My Car.
Yeah, of course.
But as far as every other aspect of the directorial job, he pretty much has it nailed, like no question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. That's a good pick. I actually didn't think of that.
What?
I mean, I saw it, but like I didn't pick it as my same answer. So
Yeah.
my biggest snub is kind of an overall snub, not just a specific category. Is just straight up the French Dispatch. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yes.
Where is the French Dispatch? Could have gone in
Yeah.
so many places. Cinematography, art directing,
Yeah.
acting. Like that movie's
yeah.
filled with technical category achievement, let alone just straight up best picture. Like why isn't it there either over Belfast?
Yeah.
I don't know. That pisses me off.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But not even set design. Like you couldn't even like give it set design. Okay.
For sure, and including like best original screenplay, best. Yeah. There's.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
100%. Exactly. So I want to move on to your biggest eye roll. So I would say this is a movie in a category that just makes you kind of cringe a little bit as to why.
What did I write? Oh yeah. On the biggest eye roll, on the same note, Belfast being nominated for best director.
Okay. Specifically
yeah.
director.
Yeah.
I know you just saw this, right?
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh. Is that how you pronounce that? That's a crazy name. Crazily spelled name. Anyways, yeah, I just watched this movie yesterday, and it was like it's nice. It's a nice movie. There's the little kid is super cute and everything, but it's just like there's nothing.
The director of Thor.
There's nothing.
And
I didn't.
Artemis Fowl.
Yeah.
Is now the Oscar Award nominated director Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, and it was just like it was nothing. There was nothing, no stamp of his that I saw in it. No, like, not even like the way he tells the story is particularly interesting. Maybe you could say that his ability to work with the kid actors in the movie, because there was a pretty great performance, but that's
compared to Denis Villeneuve's job, like it's just.
It's definitely an eye roll. It's kind of, and honestly kind of shocked
in seeing this movie, so I can like be a part of this conversation that's around it, of it being kind of like anticipated by the, what do I want to say? It's like being pushed by the production company as this Oscar movie, but it's being received as just not at all. I guess. Well, fine. But now it is. But I mean, most people talking about it are never received it that way, even though it's appearing everywhere now. The Oscars are. All right, my biggest eye roll is in 2 categories, maybe more, but it's Don't Look Up for Best Picture and also Best Screenplay. What? To me, that movie. Have you seen it yet?
I was definitely thinking that I had to refrain because I saw the first hour of this movie, and then me and Kelly paused it to like go to the bathroom or something. And when we paused it, and I was like, all right, so what? There's like a half hour left of this movie. Should breeze by. And then I saw that we still had an hour and a half left.
It's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
And we
long.
were like, I can't anymore with this.
They ran the concept of this movie, the screenplay of this movie, into the ground in the first 7 minutes, and nothing changes pretty much. And so I cannot believe it's nominated for best screenplay, let alone best picture.
Yeah.
This movie did nothing for me, and I was frustrated as hell watching it at how repetitive and kind of dumb the humor is.
Agree. That was like my biggest criticism with the movie. It's like I would almost forgive every other complaint that I had with the movie if it was funny. But
someone
really
was like, I think it was probably Slash Film. They were like, this is at best a 4.5-minute SNL sketch. That's done in 2 hours and 20 minutes for some reason.
Yeah. And so, the only reason I didn't choose that one is because I only saw an hour of less than an hour of it, just under an hour. So didn't feel totally fair to hate on it so much in the open.
Okay. Good story though. I mean, that tells a lot. Just your experience.
I could not believe there was still an hour and a half left. Like going from thinking the movie was almost over to realizing you weren't even halfway through it yet is just like, oh my God. Done.
And it's getting a lot of praise here, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
So, next category I've written down here is most stacked category. Like, what's your most anticipated category and some things and why you're anticipating something? What is stacked here?
Yeah, I'm really excited for the cinematography category. Last year,
same.
Probably
that's what I picked.
Yeah, awesome. I just kind of felt like last year was a little bit underwhelming with this category, in part because there weren't any big blockbustery Roger Deakins wasn't nominated for Blade Runner, and there wasn't anything like that kind of made me really excited, or 1917 type really exciting movie in the category last year, mainly because of the pandemic. But yeah, I think this year came back really strong, and there's some really, you toss a coin and you'll pick an award.
Kaminsky.
Yep.
Spielberg's cinematographer that's always great. Bruno Del Bonnell. We always say his name wrong.
I think I always say Del Bonnell.
Del Bonnell.
Which I'm sure is also
who's been a favorite of ours for a long time.
Amelie, a very long engagement.
Really great stuff here. And obviously Dune is just some of the most beautiful cinematography you've seen in a long time. And did the same guy who did Nightmare Alley, this guy Dan Livingston, did he do The Shape of Water?
I actually don't know. Let's see.
Looking at now, yes, he did. Looks like he did.
Yeah.
So great cinematography as well. Very excited.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Power of the Dog.
Yeah, Power of the Dog.
Is amazing.
Incredible.
Beautiful on location film.
In New Zealand landscape.
So yeah, that's what I picked as well. The last category here that I have is Dark Horse. What probably won't win, but it's really cool that it's here and that you're seeing it nominated for the person.
I forgot about the probably won't win part of that.
It's fine.
I just kind of took it as something you didn't necessarily expect, but are really happy made it on there. My pick is the fact that the entire cast of Power of the Dog was nominated in the acting.
Wait, the entire cast?
I mean, obviously just those four, but yeah.
Okay, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch. Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, and
Jesse Plemons too. Okay,
what's his name? Cody
Smith McPhee.
All four.
Oh, that's awesome. I did not realize that either. That the entire main cast.
I mean, after seeing the movie, I was just like, every single person in this movie completely deserves a nomination, if not the win. And I was like, but there's just there's no way they're going to pick like two of them to nominate, and they ended up.
Everyone's been saying it's the front runner for a while, but there's a lot of stuff here in these nominations that just prove that Power of the Dog is probably going to sweep a lot, including Best Picture.
Yeah,
seen it in all these categories as well.
Yeah, it has.
I think it's pretty.
It has the most. It definitely has the most nominations with 12.
Screenplay or acting, directing. It'll likely win Best Picture.
I think so. I sure hope so, because as far as what I've heard, Belfast is the front runner.
I will do my pick for underdog kind of thing. Mine's Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
I think it's her first Oscar nomination. It's like the entire cast from Twilight has moved on, or the two main people from Twilight moved on to so many better things.
Yeah.
I've seen Kristen Stewart in a ton of great indie movies in the last like almost 10 years. She's been like picking weird roles all over the place.
Yeah.
And now she's found this role that's like elevated her to the point where she's being seen by these Oscars, and it would just be awesome to see her on stage. And,
definitely
being recognized. She's had a long journey.
Totally agree. I love like these kind of stories of teen actors or young adult actors in kind of panned movies who kind of elevate and do
turn all indie and artsy.
Yeah, like really indie artsy stuff.
For sure.
And then but still like are often recognized as like bad actors from that crappy teen movie. But then then they have this breakout.
It's same thing with like Harry Potter. Even though no one thought they were bad actors then, but like a lot of the Harry Potter actors have like switched ultra indie and just done their own thing.
Dakota Johnson. Dakota Johnson from 50 Shades of Grey, and then even like anyways, you don't need
agreed, but it's always cool when they, and it's usually a switch.
And Andrew Garfield's another one, like from those crappy Spider-Man
Garfield's
movies.
Another one. The guy for the nominated Transformers movie, Nick Moffat.
Nick Moffat from those Transformers movies.
I'm flanking on his name, but he looks exactly like Nick. Is like one of the most extreme versions of that. Obviously, he's so extreme, people make fun of him for how like cool and artsy he is now. But exactly. Anything else in the Oscars? I mean, we got time.
Well, actually,
we probably won't take up too much time.
This is probably this is a good time to bring it up. The fact that Flea, the movie that we are reviewing momentarily, is nominated for 3. The documentary that is nominated for 3 Oscars in documentary, best documentary feature, best international feature, and best animated feature. And I just briefly looked it up. I kind of just picked the first website that I found that said this, but no movie has ever been nominated for even best animated feature and international feature. There have been animated movies that were nominated for international feature, and there have been international movies nominated for best animated feature, but never both together nominated.
And let alone documentary.
I was almost
alone not good enough to be best picture. That was good enough to be the best documentary.
That's kind animated. That's one thing I was gonna say. I was like, as I was going through the list, obviously I start from the bottom and go up. But I was like, it's nominated for documentary, best international, best animated. Is it going to be also nominated for best picture? And then like, is everyone going to know that it's going to win all three of those categories? Because we always joke that when a movie is nominated for best animated feature and best picture, it's a given that it's going to win best animated feature. Or the same with.
And if it's not, something's horribly wrong with their way of judging things. But no, instead, Coda was nominated for Best Picture. As opposed to this like very unique special film, cross like genre film, or not genre, cross category film.
But yeah,
Yeah, that is
cross
pretty
medium film.
cross medium film. It's pretty unique, and yeah, that is pretty special
Mm-hmm.
that it's here. Which ones do you think it possibly could win? Um,
Um,
I don't think it'll win best foreign film.
you don't think?
I'll just say
Oh,
that put out that out there.
no. Yeah, there's no way. I mean, because from what we just said, Drive My Car is nominated for Best Picture, and it's nominated for Best International
And,
Feature.
and I
There's
don't even
kind
know
of
if I
no
want it to
way.
win best animated film because like the way I see the category, even though it's not necessarily taken that way, is like what's the best film with like that deals with animation kind of thing
Hmm.
in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And like I would kind of think the Mitchells versus the Machines would have a bigger
Mm.
statement on the industry for that
Yeah.
movie winning
Uh,
than a more simpler animated film like Flea.
I
But
think
yeah,
it
it's
would
like
be
it's kind of hard
really
to choose.
cool. I mean, I think I would say that Flea is a better film, but is it a better
Hmm.
animated film? I don't know.
Yeah,
It doesn't necessarily push animation forward in any kind of interesting way, but I do think it uses animation in some really creative ways to tell
yeah.
this really great story. So yeah, I don't know. I would be I'd be into it, but I would also not
It'll
necessarily be
it'll
super
probably win
disappointed.
best documentary.
Yeah,
I think is the obvious one,
yeah,
and probably not the other two, but
yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else that stands out for you being unique in category?
I mean, I'm really glad that we could probably keep talking for forever, but I'm really glad that that Macbeth is nominated for two of
Yes.
the awards that I most wanted it to, with cinematography, Bernard Del Bono, because it was had such great, interesting visuals on such a
Mhm.
like small, kind of a small scale. Um, and then I'm really glad that um,
Production design.
Denzel. What's
Oh,
that? Wait, what was
it
it?
also got
Did you say
nominated for
production?
production design,
Oh, okay.
which goes alongside of that. Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
you were going to say.
No, Denzel Washington is also nominated for Best Actor for Macbeth. So,
That's great.
um,
Yeah, all very well deserved. Yeah,
yeah,
best cinematography, production design
yeah,
for sure.
hmm,
So like that's one of those unique things about that is how they're setting
yeah,
the scenes in that movie.
hmm,
But yeah, great to see Denzel Washington in
yep,
there. One other thing I want to point out there, I would almost put this in underdog, but then I was like, nothing about this is like an underdog.
hmm,
So, but No Time to Die, Billie Eilish's song, like
yeah,
would be freaking crazy to.
uh huh,
I know she's like the most popular artist, but still, for some reason, I just think she's amazing, and it'd be awesome to see her perform that song live. Would be cool,
yeah,
but also if she won and like accepted the award.
uh huh. That would be cool.
Um, yeah. Granted, I don't really know the competition. I don't think.
Hmm.
Yeah, Incento, Belfast,
Encanto.
Good Days. I didn't see any of those movies, so
Yeah, I
that's
I
what I
did
got.
see Belfast, but I don't recall the song.
Yeah. So, shall we move on to Flea?
Let's do
Let's
it.
do it. Okay. So we'll be reviewing the documentary animated foreign film Flea. This is a Danish film. Plot description is Flea tells the extraordinary true story of a man, Ahmed, on the verge of marriage, which compels him to reveal his hidden past for the first time. This is directed by Jonas Pierre Rasmussen. And I don't know, I was just kind of getting like a lot of just like hearing about this movie just out of its like how good it is over
Hmm.
the last month and a
Yeah,
half.
and how
And I'm
unique
really
it is
glad
too.
how unique and special this is. And I'm glad you picked this, Sean, because I just watched this and
Hmm.
I was pretty blown away by it.
Yeah.
But why don't you take it away and give your first thought?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, I just have to say this is such a unique movie. It's almost like it's a reenactment documentary type thing, but it actually works really, really well because it is animated and it
It
you
it
know you
doesn't
don't have
break the like connection
yeah
between the interview scenes and the reenactment scenes because it's all animated anyway.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing like fake people represent like a real person.
The only live action things you see is there is some like news footage, or there is some
it's like
live
archival
action
footage.
archival footage spliced in there to great effect. Actually,
it usually like sets the mood for the time period and the scene
to like kind of see how this guy's story actually is visually documented throughout in little pieces is really cool to see, and it's really awesome that they actually have some of that footage. I mean, anything about this movie isn't really awesome that anything actually happened in this movie, but it makes for a really effective kind of narrative device, and it is such an interesting story. It's such a harrowing story. It's certainly a sad story, but it is a very true story, and it is a relevant and very important story that people, how often do we hear on the news, almost overlook on the news, stories of refugees in desperate situations, crossing borders, and life-threatening situations, and how often do we hear about large amounts of deaths for these people trying to find a better life for themselves, and it's just it's one of those stories that you have to, if you want to form any kind of opinion on what's going on out there, it's a story that you need to know how. It's a story that you need to see for yourself, and be aware that this is how these things happen. I think there's some incredibly effective visuals in this movie as well. It's not just telling the story kind of verbatim. It is taking some visual creative liberties, not liberties in that it's exaggerating in any way, but it really does put you in the shoes of this child who's making this journey, and it allows you to feel more strongly the things that he is going through.
I think you just made me realize something, that it uses the actual present tense interviewing while it's animated, but you're hearing I think are real voices. I guess I could be wrong, but I think it's his actual recordings. I don't know. I should have researched that before I said this out loud.
I think the movie certainly wants you to think that is the case, and I would hope so, because I think it would be a little bit dishonest if that was not the case. Because the movie clearly is trying to convey that these are his interviews, and this is,
maybe it's just gathering the transcript and like trying to replicate it to keep anonymity of the actor, maybe. But I should have researched that. But I think it does use the present tense interviewing scenes to good effect when you see them, because they also shed light on the character as well. Not just the story's telling, but the way he had to tell it, and his journey to actually tell the world, and how difficult it was for him to actually say some of these things. That is kind of a part of the documentary. You're not just watching a talking head to get the story across, but you're learning more about this person while he's doing the talking head interviews. And I thought watching really well done.
Watching him literally tell the truth for the first time in his life, because up until this point, and including at this point, he has been too afraid to tell almost anyone certainly his full truth. It's powerful. It's a movie that I had to take a few minutes just sitting in the theater before I could even walk away. But
I thought this film was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It was really moving. I mean, this is like a biography. You're just learning about this one man's story. Pretty straightforward, and you go through his journey of fleeing his country and his
Mm-hmm.
family. But along the way, I think the way it's told, I'm repeating a lot of what you said, the perspectives, the animation, um, the just, it's a weird way to say the entertainingness of
Mm-hmm.
how intense this story is
Yeah.
really keeps you watching and like develop, like keeps you watching, it keeps you empathizing.
Mm-hmm.
It's shocking and powerful.
Yeah, it
Like
does
it
not let
is
up. It
yeah, it
keeps
doesn't let
you
up. It is
on
an
the edge of your seat.
insanely
Yeah.
crazy, horrifying story
Mm-hmm.
that everyone should hear. And while you're watching it, like you want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, you
like
can't not.
docudramas are, or murder, whatever you call them, on all over Netflix that are being eaten up by everyone nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is that kind of same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like Serial or the million things that are on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this is that same thing, and
Yeah.
it's fascinating. And I think everyone should watch this, and
Mm-hmm.
also will want to watch it while they're
Yeah.
watching it. Um,
Yep.
so
Totally
I thought
agree.
this was a great documentary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
I
one
would,
more thing I did want to say before is there's so many different, I guess, perspectives going on, or different ways that this movie looks at what he's going through. I think him dealing with his. I mean, I guess I'm trying to not do any spoilers here,
yeah,
but yeah, you're looking at it through a lot of different perspectives. Him as a refugee, him as a little kid, him looking back at himself as a little kid, and him like examining the kind of progression of his sexuality, and yeah, there's just so much depth to what's going on, and I think that's probably because it's real. We're dealing with a real person here, who's opening up for this film, and the filmmaker really allows the full depth of this person to come through, um, and so yeah, it really is quite an incredible feat of filmmaking, documentary filmmaking.
very much agreed. It's also, I just want to point this out because we talk about it a lot, but this movie's under an hour and a half long.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just to
Yes.
make it more accessible for everyone, if you're questioning whether you should see this or not, it's not long, and you will get so much out of it.
Yes, absolutely. Um, yeah,
So I want to
it's
talk
kind of a
about
breakneck
scene.
pace.
Okay.
Should we
Yeah.
should we do
I want to talk
spoilers?
about scenes
Yeah,
because
let's
there's a lot
do
in
it.
here that gets specific.
Mm-hmm.
Going into spoilers from now to the end of the episode. So let's do it.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned the animation is not unique. When I was talking about
Mm.
Mitchell's versus machines and stuff,
Yeah.
and I think you're right. Like there's moments in here through the animation that are really powerful,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they often cut between like different styles of animation to
Mm-hmm.
give across different purposes.
Yep.
And I remember specifically when the sisters get sent over first,
Mm-hmm.
and when it cuts to like the, I don't know, just the trauma and the traumatic
Oh God.
horrible situation, but how that's expressed visually
Mm-hmm.
was so
Yeah.
well done and
Yeah.
effective. The scratchy black
Mm-hmm.
lines that it's going through, I don't know, it was perfect. It worked so well.
Yes, I could not agree more. I mean, I saw it last week or something. It's been
Mhm.
not that long, but a few days. But that's definitely one thing I haven't thought of since walking out of the movie.
Yeah,
That was that yeah, that was a powerful scene.
yeah, and I mean, it's I don't know, like they didn't really say what happened. It was just
Mm-hmm.
all expressed in black and white, very rough animation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not even showing you it, but just giving you feelings.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can just like imagine what several days in a confined space like that,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. All yeah, I don't yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want to talk about
Yeah.
it. Next thing, there's
Yeah.
another scene in my
Absolutely.
head that like brought me to tears. Was when he was fleeing with his
Mm-hmm.
brother and mom,
Yeah.
and they're stuck on the boat,
Yeah.
uh, and the like
Unbelievable.
Norwegian cruise line
Oh
comes by,
God.
and
Yeah.
it's the first time in the documentary I feel like maybe where music even comes in,
Uh-huh.
over the top of, and very specifically, the moment he goes like, I didn't smile because I felt embarrassed,
Yeah.
and the music
Embarrassed
comes
that
in the
he.
background,
Yeah.
and I would just like, I like froze
Uh-huh.
so hard.
Yeah. And
So
you want so badly for that to, for that to be a good outcome for them,
yeah,
because and everyone else on the ship is cheering, and they've been rescued, and at least their lives will be spared, but
there's just
hopefully they will
nothing
be taken back
anyone
as
can do.
refugees. And it's just they come over the loudspeaker and say what authorities have been
We're sending a like
An Estonian
Estonia, an Estonian
ship
police
police is
coast
coming
guard.
to get you, and you're just absolutely devastated. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I was just imagining just like what needs to happen, but then just the mounds of bureaucracy
Mm-hmm.
like in
Yeah.
the way of them just
Uh-huh.
swimming to that boat and getting on and being
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
And there's just absolutely nothing anyone the um, on either boat can do about it.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, and the it cutting between just these like naive tourists
Yeah.
taking pictures,
Uh-huh.
not knowing anything about what's going on,
Yeah.
and the people excited on the boat, and then this
Yeah.
little boy who's embarrassed to just of all the emotions you can think of,
Yeah.
he's just
Embarrassed to be in the
a kid
situation.
who listens to pop music who's
Uh-huh.
now just being like taken pictures of by tourists because he's on a boat. Like I
Yeah.
would never think that that's the emotion, but
Uh-huh.
I get it. Like you're just a
Yeah.
kid who
Absolutely.
wants to be cool, and
Uh-huh.
you're literally in the worst situation,
Yeah.
life or like death
Yeah.
situation. I don't know.
And you are helpless in that
Yeah,
situation. Um, and then um, and then that's like, you know after that is when some of the archival footage comes in as well, of them being brought back to Estonia and taken off the boat, and then put in a, I don't know, some kind of
holding
holding
jails,
jail
confinement cell.
confinement place,
Hmm.
where because I'm actually quite curious about the politics of the time, because this was after the breakup of the Soviet Union, but Estonia is a Baltic country that separated from, was a former part of the Soviet Union. So yeah, were they not? I'm just curious what the politics of all that was,
I mean, I'm
of
just
of
curious. I
why.
just think it's similar to any country that doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
what to do with
Yeah.
this situation.
Uh huh.
I mean, and the US,
Yeah.
obviously, it's been in the news for the past 4 years, has very similar
Mm-hmm.
situations of it's just a holding facility
Yeah.
behind of people just await
Yeah.
behind mounds of paperwork before they figure out what the fuck to do with all
Yeah.
these people
And in
legally.
the end, they're like, well, you can either stay here for another 8 months in this miserable place, or you can go back to Moscow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Um,
And yeah, there's one moment in that jail cell scene that was in like one line that was interesting. It was he's talking about the reporters. He's like,
mm,
the reporters come and they get their footage that they need to put on their televisions and to show the
mhm.
world, but
Yeah.
absolutely nothing happens.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they
Um,
get their viewership, and I'm still sitting here in this prison cell.
yeah.
I don't think those are his exact words, but it's
Yeah. No,
it's
but
kind of
that's
reflecting on it.
kind of the effect, and yeah, it's
And then
devastating.
it's mixed with showing the actual footage that
Hmm.
people got
Yeah.
Maybe not of his
Which is
exact
which is
time frame, but
horrifying.
maybe
It's
similar people in similar jail cells
yeah.
in Croatia or Estonia around that
Well,
probably a
I
few
don't know. I
years.
mean, there was just that boat, and you literally see people being taken. I think that archival
You could
footage
be right.
was from
Okay, you could be
them
right.
being
There's
taken off
probably
that boat. That was kind of a big. I assume that was kind of a big thing, and there's some news footage of it, and then
yeah, there probably wasn't that many specific boat rescues like that. You're right.
yeah, and then that I
Coming
think
in
all
from
those people. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it was pretty powerful regardless, and a couple things I did want to talk about. Make
yeah,
sure we talked about is it wasn't all horrifying, terrible, depressing
yeah.
stuff. There was some really beautiful, incredible moments scattered through this movie. One of them in particular was the him taking the ride with that boy who gave him the necklace when he was on his way to actually
Yeah, the
leaving.
more expensive trafficking situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was just such a beautiful scene of them sitting in the back of this truck, laying down in the back of this truck, listening to music. He kind of admits that he thought the kid was sexy, and
Yeah.
he gave him the necklace, and I assume because throughout the rest of the movie he's wearing a gold chain necklace, and you kind of assume that moment meant so much to him that he kept that around for the rest of his life.
I liked
But
the way that ended, the sentiment of like, for someone so important to me,
mhm,
like I never got his name.
yeah, or he forgot
It's
his
like,
name.
or
He
he's
said
forgot his
he
name. Like at the
couldn't
time,
remember his name.
you're saying goodbye to this person you knew for 12 hours,
Hmm.
not realizing 12 years later, or 20 years later, that you'll still remember that day.
Uh-huh.
And they're probably just on Facebook, if only,
Yeah.
and you could message them if only you knew their name, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so I thought that was an
Um,
interesting like conclusion to that
hmm
that scene.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like it's a moment where he's just a kid who's, thinks this other kid is hot, um,
Yeah,
and it's like all
I
this
thought
other
something was going to
stuff,
happen in
all
the back
this,
of that
yeah,
van or
definitely,
something.
all this other
But
stuff kind
it
of
just
fades away for a moment, and he's just a kid. The other incredible moment was when his family finds it, or when he tells his
oh
family
yeah,
that he's never been attracted to girls, and
yeah,
obviously you think that his brother says, "Come on with me," and he takes him across town and hands him some money, and I assume you're supposed to think that he's taking him to a brothel for him to
okay, yeah, that's what I
have
assumed
sex with a
too. They
woman.
even mixed in a shot of someone kissing his forehead, but maybe that was from a pre. They were showing other things too, so maybe that was just something I'd missed before. But I thought that was like a prostitute kissing him on the
Okay.
forehead. But no,
I
but
don't
I'm
remember.
saying I was probably
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
But I did assume the same thing you did, and
I
then it's
think
yeah, it's
was
like a
there I mean, did his brother give him a kiss on the forehead? I don't remember. Maybe not, but
yeah, it was probably from something earlier in the movie.
yeah.
But yeah, that was a great
Yeah.
twist.
It was like
I think
it was just kind of, and it was such a great twist. It was a moment where you definitely think what's happening, what's going to happen. He's going to take him to a brothel, and he's going to kind of force him to have sex with a woman to make him a man,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And
I
it
didn't
was
take it
like,
that.
I mean,
I didn't take it that far.
exactly where I took it in my head. That's
Yeah,
like,
I thought he was going to take him to the a brothel to see so he could find out if he
oh,
liked having sex with a woman or not.
oh yeah,
I was yeah,
that's what I was going for. I don't know
okay.
how I made it sound, but yeah, I thought he was taking him
Yeah,
to a
just less
brothel.
pressure.
Yeah. But that, I mean, like, those were my worst fears of what he was going to kind of like, you're going to get in there and you're going to become a man type thing. But
Yeah,
yeah, and it was just like another moment of just like, I'm so glad this didn't turn out as horrible as I expected it to.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was just a beautiful little moment. Um,
Again, that scene ends kind of funny because he's like, and I did not go home that night.
yeah, yeah,
It's like
definitely. Like kind of with
just saying he got laid, he had an
uh-huh,
awesome time, he found
yeah,
someone to go home
definitely.
with. Um, Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Taking it back down for another
Okay.
bummer moment.
Yeah.
A big scene that really was pretty impactful was the scene where him and his brother go out to the McDonald's opening. So first of all, it was just a really interesting, like that's another archival footage moment of seeing that McDonald's opening.
They spliced in the McDonald's.
Yeah, because it was the first McDonald's opening in Russia. But yeah, and then they get caught without their papers, and they don't have any money.
He
so
sees those two boys next to him that he's attracted to. Like before you go into the second part, they splice in him like discovering like things around him, like other men around him throughout the movie. You know, the TV show of the like guys fighting, the posters on his wall, the boy in the van that you talked about, and then just like two guys standing next to him at this McDonald's opening. They like linger on that shot a little longer. So, they don't say anything about it, but you just realize he's just seeing men around him. He's finding more attractive as he gets older. That was just clever to throw in there.
Yeah, definitely. He gets caught by the police and thrown in a van and
gets surprisingly dark.
Yeah, so quickly, and it's just like, and they get put in the van with a young girl who also didn't have her papers or money, and the captain or whatever comes over and tells them to get out of the van, and he gets in the van, and just that moment of helplessness, looking back at this person who is also experiencing something, you know, just as horrifying in her life as they are, you know, whose life is just as fucked up as theirs, and being completely helpless and unable to stop it. And the added layer of looking back as an adult at that moment and thinking he has no idea what happened to her. He wishes he
remembers her eyes.
Remembers her eyes and the fear, but there's nothing he can, and that's something that haunts him for the rest of his life. And I think that kind of is a transition into, you know, kind of the main theme of the movie of how
I want to say before you move on from that,
go.
Like, so you do more details on that scene. That was like a moment where it's like, this is becoming stranger than fiction. And if it wasn't for the fact that like you're hearing narration of this, like it's almost like it's so like twisted that in a normal drama you'd be like, this is just bad writing. But no, this is like real life and it's actually happening and it's this fucked up. And he ends like saying that like this is something for like I've never forgotten. And you're just like, every detail of the scene is true, and he got this in like, he's expressing it to this journalist in this interview. Remember, like, reflecting back on this one day as a child. So that was just shocking to me.
Absolutely. And like it kind of brings it back to the lasting impact of all this trauma on him is kind of the, I guess, the arc of his character in this movie, of how do you move on? How do you go about living a normal life with someone you love, that you can't even trust? I mean, I assume you can trust to tell this story to, but someone who has, you know, lived through so much trauma and so many bad things have happened to, that he isn't physically able anymore to tell this, to allow himself to trust someone with the story. In part because,
and you feel that in the relationship and their communication. How hard it is for him to, I mean, he talks about his past relationship, how like literally this was hung over his head as they were breaking up. Like, that is so messed up.
Yeah.
And how that even more made him not trust future relationships.
Yeah.
I think it is like, it's pretty it's like one of those coincidences in a documentary where you're just like, they were there, this is like the right person and the right ending. Like, the movie's called Flea, but he's doing the documentary or interviewing this guy around the time when him and his partner are looking for a home to settle down in.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you couldn't capture, or like, that is just such a perfect like encapsulation for the overall story of his journey and him finally like dealing with, can he settle down? Can he stay in one place? Can he just be himself with his partner and live in a home that's his, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's just like a crazy coincidence that the framing device just happened around the 6 months that he was looking for a home with him and his husband.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Definitely. Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Incredible film. Probably should have been nominated for Best Picture.
I'm excited to
all back full circle.
Text some people to definitely check this movie out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is really strong. Yeah, and glad it was nominated for three major categories. Excited to see it win.
Definitely.
All right. That is Flea. Go check it out on Hulu or Disney Plus or in theaters.
Yep.
We will be doing the end of the year top 10 list in 2 weeks from now. Next week, though, we will be probably picking another. So many movies. Next week, we'll probably do a similar thing, except for maybe it'll be the Batman. Not sure, but we might pick another indie to check out before the end of the year.
Here's the problem, Brandon. Our big blockbuster reviews never get very many views.
So we might as well do what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more specific we get, the better our rating or our viewers are. So might as well go for that.
Yep. I'm into just doing another Oscar
No, it doesn't
movie.
come out. What am I saying? It doesn't come out till March.
There's something. I feel like there's a few things that come out.
We'll probably do Red Rocket. We'll do something cool or interesting next week as well. And then
Worst Person in the World comes out next week, which somehow all three of you have already seen that movie.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I guess.
I'm trying to remember how. I definitely saw it already.
Did you do it illegally?
I don't think so.
I don't think all three of you did.
I don't even remember why I just randomly watched it. Anyways, we could do that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think that's supposed to come out somehow in theaters. I think this weekend. I hope. I think it says it comes out the 11th as a wider release, but I haven't seen any confirmation of that in theaters have
it's
posted.
Hard for these smaller foreign films.
Yeah.
I think that film won the Palme de Jour at Cannes Film Festival. Maybe some other stuff. Not sure. Need to research that. But we'll talk about it next week if we choose it. Thank you, Shaun, for talking about Fleet. And please like and subscribe. And we'll see you next week on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Later.
All right. See ya.